Good morning and welcome back to 2 Acres in Texas. This is Candy and I am coming back. It's the first tour of, I think I haven't posted one yet this year. So the first tour of this year 2023, and it is currently April 22nd. So I actually have been working on my garden for a few months. I honestly just haven't spent the time to do filming very much. And the few times that I did, I didn't really finish it or even upload it. So I'm just going to start over and kind of show you where I'm at the moment. So as we lead into May, every year is different. And last year we had so much rain near the beginning of the year that it was unbelievable amounts of rain in everybody's gardens. And then it turned from so much rain into just unbelievably hot weather so early on that a lot of people's gardens just really didn't do great. And I did a fall garden and I just didn't really post much about it. So I'm going to try and do a couple videos, a little bit more videos this year than I did last year, hopefully. And it is April 22nd, so we'll see how that goes because I've already haven't posted in a few months, but I am willing to try and get this done. If you're new here, I live on a couple of acres in Texas. We moved to Texas from Oregon in 2019, and I started my garden in 2020, and it wasn't due to the pandemic. I was planning to start a garden that year, and then the pandemic happened, so I ended up coordinating or coinciding with all of the people that started gardens due to the pandemic. So it's just kind of interesting how that worked out. I do feel like God led us here, and what that may be, I just keep getting a message from God to be still, and I'm gonna be still. I'm just gonna keep learning what I can learn and take it one day at a time. My ultimate goal, I feel like God laid it on my heart, is to eventually produce enough food to just give to other people, to donate to people in my community who need fruits and veggies and things like that. Maybe not for profit, maybe some for profit, but mostly it's just going to be to donate, because I might need to recoup some of my costs. In that case, I might go ahead and do like a small farmers market stand or something like that at some point. But honestly, unless I feel the need for that, I'm not going to. And I am going to try to donate a lot of excess, if that makes sense. So far, I know a couple of years anyways, I've had extra watermelons that we could definitely start donating, but I also don't want to interfere with people in my community who sell watermelons. So I don't want to take business away from other people or anything like that. So my goal is really just to learn what I can learn and to increase my skill level with gardening, because I didn't really garden most of my life, almost ever. I think a few times in my life I've gardened, and that was about it. So it's definitely been a learning curve for me. So I'm going to walk you around what I have so far. It's not amazing, but it is getting there. And I know that as the next couple of months, it's just going to explode and you're going to see a lot more growth. So I'm going to go ahead and show you now, and that way you can compare it when we do more videos in the future. So if that interests you and you like garden tours, then please just check it out. If you like my tour, then please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I would love if you subscribed. But thank you so much for watching, and let's get to it. So a lot of my tours in the past, I just start touring kind of right there next to the beds that I have. But today I'm gonna actually start over here. I have a lot of started pots and plants, and I just kind of want to give you a brief overview of how much stuff I have going on. Now keep in mind, we had a huge storm for the last 2 days, and it's going to be sunny today, but you'll see, I don't know if you can tell on the video, but the grass is extremely wet. The ground is extremely wet. I haven't come through and dumped excess water out. For instance, this box you can see is full of water. So while I don't mind a little bit of water, that's just too much water. So I'm going to come through and after this video and start dumping water out of these bins, because that's how much rain we had. We had so much that like all of my bins that I have plants started in have filled up. I did start buying these because they only hold a tiny bit of water, and then it would just overflow onto the ground. So I think that might be, I just need to go buy more of those. I found that at Dollar Tree. So if anybody's interested, these little plastic containers, they just have a very small lip, and so you can keep a little bit of water in it, but it won't get too much, which is nice. So I will start here. This is just a mix of plants. These over here, I do have some cantaloupes called Tommy Apple and a few peppers. My peppers are not doing well this year. I'm not sure why, but I just don't know. I did start them early, but they just didn't seem to do well. I have a bunch of lion's tails. Now, I had been given a lion's tail plant when I did a seed exchange, I think the first year we lived here or the second year, and I grew it and it was amazing, and actually collected the seeds. I researched it, collected the seeds, and I have been growing them ever since, every year, and it's just a beautiful tall, it grows as tall as I am, actually taller than me, and it's a plant I think originated in Africa and somewhere in Africa. But it is just beautiful. The flowers are bright, vivid orange, and I like that. But the flowers are just a very unique circular around. They come around the stalk, so the stalk grows up, and then the orange circulars it. So it's kind of a unique style of plant. It's not just like one you can cut. I mean, I haven't ever tried to do that, but it is one that cuts and that you just don't, put in a pot or anything like that. So hopefully, I'll keep these tours up and then you can see it when it's grown up. So I do have a bunch started in the ground, and then I have started all of these, and I think they've got too much water, so I need to get these drained and let them dry out today. There's some more tomatoes. They're kind of blending in with the grass, which I had mowed the grass and our lawnmower died and we got it fixed, but then it was raining, so I haven't been able to come and mow. I was able to get this rosemary started. I hadn't been able to get rosemary for a couple years, and I finally got one to actually grow. And the rest of these, I believe, are pomegranate. That's right, pomegranate. This one might be crepe myrtle, because I did grow two. This is pomegranate. So yeah, and the leaves look similar, so I don't, but they do look a little different, like shapes. So I do believe that is the case. So I do have pomegranate, and I do have some crepe myrtles in here. And down here, I had researched on how to start the grape vines from wood cuttings, and I did take some wood cuttings just to see how it would do for this year, and I did 1, 2, 3 in this one, and 1, 2, 3 in this one, and as you can see, which I'm not showing you, they have sprouted, which is really, really cool, because I have a friend on Facebook that I met, and she came one year and got some grapes from us, and she tried to do the cuttings and they didn't survive. So my goal is to learn how to do the cuttings, because these are coming off of the Mustang grapes, and we get Mustang grapes that grow, they ripen up. They are all along the fence line, in case you're not aware. That whole fence line is all Mustang grapes, and probably starting around here, they produce grapes. And then over on the other side of the property, we have a whole nother section that does produce grapes. And then all the way up by the street. But the street, I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to, I don't really harvest enough personally to use all of these grapes that are growing here. And obviously it is a shared fence line with our neighbors, so currently they don't use the field for much other than the hay that they get from it, and they'll come and mow it down. So I don't know if he'll ever sell it. I am praying that someday we can have that field next to us, and I would really like all 3 fields around our house. That way I can extend out and maybe raise a couple cattle beef or something, just cattle for beef, just a couple a year, something like that would be really nice for me, I think. So over here in my gazebo, I have a bunch of starts, as you can see. And my daughter did make it to nationals for FCCLA again for the 2nd year in a row. So I think I might end up taking a lot of my started lion's tail plants and trying to sell them around town, because I have a bunch more over here started too. It was crazy. I didn't mean to start that many, and I just happened to. So maybe it's a God thing. I'm not sure. So I have some more tomatoes. These got either a late start or they were the damaged ones from a previous storm, and we had a bunch of hail, and I had the tomatoes outside, and then it was just crazy. So these are more tomatoes. These are celosias or celosias. I'm not sure how. These are dragon's breath. I haven't grown that particular variety before, so I have a bunch of that. I started this. I need to get a new, some kind of a staking plant so I can like stake it up really high. But I grew this. It should be a dragon fruit. And I just took seeds out of one I bought at the store, and I got one to grow. And then this is some plants that are called Mother of Thousands, and I did pull off all the babies, but each of these leaves line with thousands, like all these little tiny buds. I am gonna, those are really tall. I potted them in that, and I was thinking about trying to sell them also to get just a little bit of money for, again, for Shayla. Over here I have more celosias or celosias. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. I probably should look it up. Just some more little peppers I have. So there's peppers. A lot of this is pepper, celosia. There's a few cosmos in there. A couple more. That's a honeydew melon. These, you can see how much rain, even in the gazebo, it's crazy. So I need to do is get this strain. And yes, I recycle a lot of my plastic. These don't last very long, but they will last me a year maybe, or maybe two, but typically maybe a year before they crack. But I can at least use them for part of the year, which is nice. Actually, the aloe vera did not like being outside. I brought these out because we have baby kitties in my a couple of kittens in my office where I usually keep that stuff. And I was afraid they were just gonna dig in it, go in the bathroom in it, and I just decided to pull a lot of the plants out here now that it's warming up. And I don't think that particular aloe was really happy about either the amount of rain we got or the fact that it got brought outside. But maybe it will bounce back. It was doing really good until I brought it out. Also, I found this plant, which is a, oh goodness, why do I always do this to myself? It's a flower, oh goodness, I can't even, my brain, I literally had this in my head. Let me think about that. I'll be right back. Okay, it's called a hibiscus. I don't know why I could not think of that. I had to stop the video and like think about it for a moment. See Spooky running. I think he heard me talking. He likes to come and see what's going on. So these are dwarf tamarillos. I have a whole bunch. All of this is dwarf tamarillos. I have a whole bunch of these, and I'm hoping this year, if I plant a bunch next to each other, we'll get some fruit from it. I have a pineapple that I chopped, you know, when we got a pineapple at the store. I'm trying to grow it, and it's starting to finally grow and do pretty good. And then this one came from our yard. I found the bulb in the yard, and I am hoping that grows. There's some sunflowers growing in this little batch. It looks like I have more cantaloupe right there. Pretty much everything I just kind of mentioned is still in this area. I'm gonna walk over here and show you this one. I got this at the store for $5, and then I found the pot, which has a slight crack on the side, so I did get the pot at Walmart discounted. And I had it in my office, but again, I pulled it out because of the babies and the baby kitties, and I just didn't want it to get ruined. But I do think I might be planting it outside at some point. I'm not sure, because I'm afraid it'll just freeze in the freezes. It seems to like this spot. So I'm not sure if I'll leave it in a pot and just bring it in for the winter months and bring it out in the summer months, something like that. So now I am going to go ahead, see my shadow, and I'm going to walk you out to my normal garden section. And you can see over here, so we'll go this way first. I did trim this back a lot last year because I researched on, this is a thornless blackberry, and it's fruiting as you can see. Has some pretty flowers on it. I don't know if you can see those. This one's pretty. And so I did cut it back because basically you have to cut off a lot of it. So I'm thinking we just need to buy some more because it's been here for almost 3 years now and it hasn't really gotten a lot bigger, but it is producing a little bit each year. So that's kind of where we're at with that. And then in my first garden bed, I do have a mix match. Mostly this is where I plant my zinnias. I did plant a couple of calla lilies, I think is that. And then I think there's 3 of them, but only one has come up. I see some, I'm not sure if they're weeds now, but I know there are some weeds in there I'm going to have to pull out. And then like that is radish. And since I knew that the flowers weren't going to grow up, I threw some radish seeds in there in the meantime. Over here, I have a whole bunch of green onions or like scallions that are 2 years old. As you can see, they're crazy. I just keep pulling off and pulling off and pulling off more and more and more. And I think what I'm going to work on is to start drying it. But I have been dehydrating. I have been dehydrating this kale. So I have this whole big bush of kale and I literally just pulled off a whole bunch of it this week, and I have been dehydrating all week so far, and there's a bunch to work on. So I think this summer I'm just going to be dehydrating a bunch of stuff, and that way you can add the powders to soups and smoothies and everything that you're using. My dill is looking amazing. So this is all dill, which I had a hard time growing the last few years, but for whatever reason this year, I was able to get a bunch of it growing. So I have this section here, and over on the other side of this is a whole bunch more of dill. And then the Mizuna, I think that's how you say it, but Baker Creek sent out a bunch of their free seeds. So this is Mizuna. It has like a purple stalk, and then when it gets bigger, it will look like this. And I'm trying to get you some videos. So that's Mizuna. And you can add it to salads, soups, stir fries, supposedly. Honestly, I don't cook at home as much as I should. Like I do, but I'm trying to learn to do more cooking at home and to integrate with stuff that I've grown at the same time and not just waste the food that I'm growing. So that's what I mean by I'm still learning. I'm on a learning curve of how to grow the plant and what to do with the plant once it's grown, and that's a big process for me. Here's just a bunch of baby. These are Chinese cabbage, so I guess we'll see what happens with that because I have no idea what I'm going to use those for either. I honestly think I grew those before and it just didn't work out so well. The saga continues of the unfinished bed. This bed was started like 3 years ago, and every year we get a little bit more done, and every year it gets put on the back burner, which I guess is fine because I am debating turning it into a actual compost station where you have the 3 different sections. And so I think we might modify it and just do compost here, because that way it's just right in the middle of my garden and I can easily move it to the garden beds. This bed I actually have been working on a little bit, but this plant, the bigger one, is the Brussels sprout. I think I had a couple Brussels sprouts, but I don't remember which other ones are Brussels sprouts, but I know this one is. And then I planted a bunch of green peas. So these are green peas, which will put nitrogen into the soil. I actually haven't been able to go pick up mushroom compost this year because my car struts haven't been, we have the struts, but we haven't had a chance or the time for Michael to put them on the car. So because his car is not working, well, he's getting there, but because of that, we haven't wanted to use the one car, and it would take him a few days to do it, and I don't have the resources, the finances to take it to somebody else to do it. So that is on the back burner until my car is in working order enough that I feel confident taking it to go pick up a heavy load of compost. So the broccoli is a late start this year, and I'm hoping it doesn't get too hot too quick like it did last year, and that it has time to give me some broccoli before it dies. And then over on this bed, I did plant some more broccoli. I have some nasturtium flowers that will help, and I do plan to plant my broccoli here again. Not my broccoli, my zucchini. I have some zucchini started inside. It's very small right now, and I do plan to plant some zucchini next to the nasturtiums because I think that does actually help. And then let's move over here. And this is, I think, from last year. I planted a tansy, and I'm not sure, but I think that's what this is. And we'll see. I'm trying to think if it was something else, but I'm almost positive that's what I planted. That, or it's just a big weed. So I guess we'll see what happens. It's hard to tell because of all the rain we had, but this whole section is an ant hive right now, which is going to make it very interesting trying to use this bed. But I did plant my Boston pickling cucumbers, and it looks like the rain that we had a big storm the other day, and it just, I'm gonna see if I can prop this one up. It's just pummeled it. It was really heavy storm, high winds, heavy storm, but I need to get through and finish weeding. It's encroaching up the bed, so I need to kind of work around it. I did a little bit the other day, but I just haven't finished. And then on this one, I have cosmos. This is the first year I'm growing cosmos. So these little spiky things are cosmo flowers. I did get a bag of gladiolas. So these should be like a really bright, vivid purple gladiola. And more nasturtiums here, which are supposed to help ward off the insects. Not that they completely do, but they do a little bit. And then more Boston pickling cucumbers. So my goal this year, honestly, is to grow enough pickling cucumbers to actually can up pickles. That would be my goal. And maybe more salsas. I would really like to do that. So again, I have more pickling cucumbers. And then here is my trumpet vine. I planted this. I actually planted two. I have one more over here that I'm going to show you in a minute. So this is a trumpet vine that I started, and I'm pretty surprised, but they both came back. So I'm hoping, I still haven't seen actual flowers come off of these vines yet, but I have hope that this year is the year that they're going to produce some flowers for me. And this bed is what all my beds look like. I have not weeded this one yet. So this is how overgrown these beds get throughout the winter months when I'm not doing anything out here. And it is a lot of work just to get rid of all this. It takes me probably an hour and a half just to get one bed completely pulled out. So, and of course depending on how big the bed is. So I did get a lot of it, but you can see that the grass starts to grow into the bed. The weeds start to come into the bed. It's quite frustrating. So I am still trying to, I just don't have a lot of resources, but I think I might want to start putting cinder blocks around all the edges of the bedding and, just like to start to line all of them with cinder blocks just to see if that helps. Like dig down a little bit, stack a couple layers of cinder blocks, or at least one layer to start. That's kind of like where I'm at the moment. My asparagus is doing amazing. Make sure I don't step on anything here. So this is asparagus. I started in the first year, and it is doing amazing. I actually do need to come and just cut it. As you can see, these stalks are really big. I have not harvested any asparagus yet, and it's year 3. And year 3 is when you are allowed to start. Like, that's the ideal time where you can start harvesting some of your asparagus and then leave some. As you can see, I've left it. So I'm pretty sure the roots are growing. And yeah, so that's where that's at. And then a lot of these little plants down here, it's those flowers that just take over every year. And if you look back in my last couple of years of videos, you'll see these beautiful wildflowers that get pretty tall. They look like little sunflowers, just like little tiny, like daisy-like sunflower-like. I think they're honestly black-eyed Susans. I'm not really sure, but they get pretty big, and then they spread their seeds just it's an intense amount of seeds. So I am trying to go through and pull all those out. I did want to plant not just asparagus in this bed, but strawberries. And I did plant strawberry plants, but I have yet to see them sprout. But they are kind of in the middle section, so I don't know. So far, I've only weeded out about this section right here. So I will be working on that probably this weekend because these plants are starting to get bigger and I do not want them to flower and produce seeds. This is a little pepper plant that I started. This is a little tomato, and I have another little tomato. Now these plants I put out here, and then we got a hard frost, and they survived. I did put a sheet over the top, and the sheet did okay, but they still died back, and they are now doing pretty good. I just don't know with the tomatoes, especially. I don't know how much tomatoes I'll actually get from these since they did die back so hard. I had one more here in between these two Mizunas, and it did completely die. So you can tell that this was just, it was just like that. I had planted Mizuna between the tomatoes because I thought, oh, maybe I haven't been able to get Mizuna to grow in other places last year. So I thought maybe I'll plant it earlier this year and plant it where it's going to get some shade and not just the immense heat. So I do know it does not like the heat, and it's fine with the shade. So, but again, Mizuna is not something I've ever grown or used, so I am still learning, which is crazy. Okay, so over here I do have this trumpet vine. I'm going to try and move around this stick that's on the ground. So this trumpet vine I planted originally, and then I planted the one over there. So this one's actually bigger. I think it's on its year 2. So I'm really hoping that one of these years it's going to actually start producing some flowers. And I did line it up along our driveway so that, you know, if it's producing flowers, then I'll have a nice pretty view of flowers as I drive up. So I do have some of the peas planted over here as well. I planted a row of peas. And then I did plant a whole strip. As you can see, all these spikies are the gladiolas. And right about, I'll walk over here. Right in this section here, as you see my legs, there is a peony. I planted a peony bulbs. I'm not sure if it will grow this year because I planted it about a month ago. And then in this section are my lion's tails. These are the original ones that I got into the ground first. I'm going to try and stay on this side just because the shadow. So the lion's tails are really big. They are about 1.5 feet tall now. And I do, like you saw, have a whole bunch more. So I thought, well, it'd be nice to have a whole flower bed over here on this, kind of like these 2 sections. I thought it would be nice to have flowers for when I drive up my driveway. And I put some of the cosmos here. And I do have some dahlias that normally come up here. I haven't seen them start this year, so I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. Oh, look. This is just a little wildflower, but how pretty. There's another one. It's interesting, I can tell you that. Seeing the different flowers come to life. And I do have other bulbs I planted in here. Now I did plant alliums. One of the things I've always wanted is those tall, they look like dandelions. They have a round bulb at the top, and then they're purple flowers. So I did get some allium bulbs, but I didn't plant them in the fall. I planted them around February. So they are in this bed, and I don't know that they will grow this year because you're supposed to plant them in the fall. Really hoping they grow. I do have a bulb sticking up there. I have a little, I'm not sure what that is, so I left it because I also planted some dahlias over here. Oh, there's another one sticking up. I don't know if you can see that. It's tiny. And then I also have this, but I think this wasn't an allium. This, I believe, is a lily, I believe. Like an Easter lily, maybe. So I have that. I'm going to go ahead and stop this video and then start another one. So I'm going to cut. I just have to put these together. So Okay, so I'm still here, and I'm going to turn around and show you across the driveway. So now this section is where I normally put, like, I don't know. One time I tried corn. I have planted mostly watermelons. As you can see, I have not done anything with this. I did remove the black coverings from this side last year, and now it's completely overgrown. So I might at some point pick up these this section and just cover this section again to let it die out, and then just work on planting over here. But it is hard to maintain, and I haven't figured out, like, my water lines that I put up don't produce enough pressure to do the entire line. So I am working on, I did order some smaller lines. So this is 1/2 inch, and the 1/2 inch just doesn't give enough pressure to get every single spot watered, which is partly what I've been dealing with. So I did order some 1/4 inch, and I'm going to work on this section up here because I do have 1/2 inch kind of integrated in this section. So I'm going to start adding the 1/4 inches that come off the 1/2 inch so that the pressure just builds up and goes in through smaller lines. I'm really hoping that helps. And then I did plant some of my lion's tails here, and I'm really glad for the rain for this reason, because I don't have any water over here, and the rain for the springtime will actually really help these. So we have some really pretty Texas flowers. There's some more. These are just wildflowers. I have them all over my yard. They end up getting mowed down. I'm not sure what they are. So if you know, you can leave me a comment. But they just grow almost like grass. It's crazy. So yeah, this area, you can see I had some corn stalks in here from last year. The corn did okay, but it wasn't great. The soil over here would actually probably be really good for potatoes. So I might end up at some point trying to grow potatoes down here. But honestly, I think I really need to, I just wish I had a tiller or something. I think that would be really helpful if we ever get to that point in our lives. And then this is all grapevines that have yet to produce, but maybe they will, because they are sort of attached to the other end. So I have yet to see grapes actually grow on this section, but the grapevines grow. So it's interesting. And I'm gonna go ahead and stop it here and move around the property. So over here, I have my 3 figs. As you can see, they are starting to grow back from the freeze. So that's good. I really need to, like, you can see that the freeze actually, like, this whole section is now dead. And they're really growing back from the root base. So, I don't know. I had bought, and this was the oldest one, so it really didn't do good in the freeze. We've had this one for a year longer than the other 2. And it's starting to sprout, so it is alive, the base of it, but it does die back to the ground. So I need to figure out how to protect them, because we get these freezes, and I mean, we're in Texas, but we're getting these freezes. So I put this bed in last year, and I grew the little pear tomatoes, the little yellow pear-shaped tomatoes. And this year I decided, I wasn't sure. I was going to try to grow flowers and have it be a flower bed also, but I couldn't tell what was flowers and what was weeds. So I was pulling everything out. So I decided just to go ahead and grow something that I know what it is. So I did plant romaine lettuce. So the big little sections are romaine. I planted rainbow chard. So you can see some of the rainbow chards there. There's 2. I planted some nasturtium. So there's 3 nasturtiums, one around 2, they're kind of triangular. And I did plant onions. Now, I grew these onions from seed, and these are not green onions. These are supposed to be like a Texas early, just a regular onion. And I've never grown onions, so this is going to be an experiment. and we will see. So far they look okay. I might be a little late in growing because I did start them from seeds, and I just planted them out about a week ago. And then I do have, I think, this, and I'm not sure, that might be a weed, but I do believe this one is a tomato. And if that's a tomato, it is probably one of the yellow pear tomatoes, and which I'm fine with. I love that. That's probably one of my favorite tomatoes. So I'm gonna leave that and let it grow. And then I will have sort of like a little salad mix. I can come out and harvest lettuce, and I know that eventually it will die. It'll get too hot, and the lettuce is not gonna, definitely not gonna like that. While we're over here, I'm gonna show you next to the gazebo. These plants I did not plant. They come back every year though, so they must have a really good root. But they're 4 o'clocks. I never even knew the name of it until I started gardening. But they have these really pretty buds, flowers that come up every year. And if you go back again onto my previous videos and look in the summertime, I'm sure I have shown them. They grow over here. And I planted a couple of cosmos here because I weeded out this section. And you can see they're starting to bud here and here. So those are all 4 o'clocks. And they're really pretty. So I'm just leaving them. I'm going to go ahead and stop. I'll be right back. So this is the flower held this year. And again, you can see my shadow. So I think I might try to go this direction. Just debating on my angles. I keep pulling out. These are those flowers I told you that have infiltrated over there. And that's the thing, is when we moved here, this area of the property was just encompassed in these flowers. And I know I'm not going to ever completely eradicate them, but I am just trying to eliminate them from taking over my garden spaces. This is probably a bluebonnet, one of the Texas bluebonnets, because that field over there past the fence is so many of them. They come back every year. They've already bloomed this year, so I didn't show it this year, but it's so pretty. And I have planted just a variety of bulbs, and also things that are growing up here, not just bulbs, are last year I did Spanish needle, which I have a feeling, because of how many came back this year, it's dropping a lot of seeds just like these. And it's going to be like a weed, and it's just going to take over. So I did pull a bunch of them, and I did leave a few so that I can grow some Spanish needle. Spanish needle is good for things, but I also don't want it to take over my garden. So I'm just going to try and be really on top of maintenance with that one. In this little section, I do know that these are the red spider lily plants that are native to Texas as well. Or at least I know they grow here. So these bulbs were here when we moved here, but they weren't in this spot. They were actually up by the house. And when my husband was digging around, we pulled out bulbs, and I just moved them. I moved them over here, and I planted them. These I have no idea, because they have yet to flower, but every year they look like this. So I have no idea what they are. Maybe it's just an ornamental grass. I'm not really sure. But this section right here do produce those orange lilies. So I just wonder if these are just immature and they haven't produced lilies yet. So maybe we'll see one of these years what happens. There's some more weeds growing, and then some more Spanish needles. So like this one is a Spanish needle, and this one. I did try to move some of my iris bulbs over here, but I don't know, they just died, so I don't see them anymore. I'm really hoping there's a few in there alive and that they start sprouting. We'll see. I'm gonna walk you over to that section past the tree. So this is the area that I have done tomatoes and peppers, and I did have a bunch of, like, all of those sticks were staked up last year with wire, and I just overall did not like that. It worked okay, but it was also a pain to get through it. So I am revamping it, and then this year I took them all out, and I've been working on cleaning it up. And I have to work on the pipes, the water, because the problem is that the watering comes down this hill here, and I have a pipe that comes across the yard about here to the end of this corner. And then I have this piping that comes up from the pipe in the ground, but then as it goes up here, it's uphill, and then it snakes around this section. Well, it only will water the first 2 rows there, but it won't water this whole section because of pressure. And I just don't have enough pressure in my lines, which is what I'm trying to say is like that one line that comes off the house. So I have a water line that I brought in from the main water line. So it's kind of up by the house up here. It goes right down the middle of my garden. We have put in a hose spigot there, and then it crosses to the other side of the driveway, and on the other side of the driveway is where I have all that watering. So as it comes down, I have sections that come off for all of these little sections of garden. So it just it just doesn't have enough pressure. So I feel like I did too big of a water line. Also, I know I can't go back uphill right here. I have really considered, and I just don't have the funds. I know I say that a lot, but we don't have the funds. We are not rich people. I just don't have the funds. And so I can only do what I can do. And we've been working on cars, and we've got a lot of house stuff we're working on. Like, there's just not enough to go around. So I can only do what I can do with the garden. That's why I said someday I will get to a point where I might be able to help with the community and growing enough. But for now, it's just a time to be still and work on what I can work on. And I see George. This is, she's cute. So this year I am just going to leave it as is. I'm going to try and fix some of the water. Like, I'm going to try to fix the water lines to see how it does if I attach the 1/4 instead of the 1/2 inch. So I'll have like the 1/2 inch come up, and I think I'll cap it down there, and I'll try to put off a few 1/4 inch lines that come off so that it will still water some of these other rows. That's really where I'm at. Or I may just put off the 1/4 inch from this section. I'm not really sure, but we'll see what happens. I'm not an irrigation person, so it's really just learning as I go. So these tomatoes, as you can see, I did start these early, and why they're blooming, they got stunted. I put them in their pots. I up-potted them, but they just sat in their pots for so long because we just kept getting late freezes, and now they're trying to bloom, and they really need to just work on, growing the roots out. So I keep pulling the blooms off. So hopefully they will get a little bit bigger, and then I'll let them bloom. So I have a few different varieties this year. I decided just to plant what I can plant and see how they go. They're doing okay though for the ones that I just planted out here. And as you saw earlier, I have a bunch of more tomatoes to plant out and more peppers that I will probably put over here again this year. So that's what I've been working on over here. So I'm gonna just stand up here and show you an overview. Our house. This is the street side, but we come in and out on the other side. And my goal is to whitewash this brick, so it's not going to have this tan look. It'll be more of a whitish look. We need to fix the trim, which we bought some trim board because that section there is rotted. And my husband does a lot of this work himself. We don't have a lot of people in Texas that we know, and we didn't really know anybody, so he just doesn't have friends here, and he does a lot of it himself, or I have to help him with some of it. Looks like that got hit in the storm. I don't remember what. We put this one up here for some reason, and I don't know why. I think he was going to put it across, and it never got finished. And then this whole area overgrows, and I want to eventually put just pavement and pave the whole section in the front of the house. But the water line, the main water line, does come through right there. So I don't know that we want to pave over that, just in case it ever freezes or something. We need to fix it. So yeah, that's where we're at. So that's the property. It's spring, and this is what it looks like right now. Super crazy. We do have some trees that we have to, like that tree's dead. And it has been dropping a crazy insane amount of the branches, and I'm sure it died from the storms, but it could have died from anything really. I don't think it's been alive for the last 2 years, and we did have that snowmageddon a couple years ago, so it could have been that just actually officially killed it. It also could have to do something with maybe beetles, I'm not sure. But as you can see, there's a ton of branches on the ground, and I've pulled off tons of branches already. Like, I cleaned up this whole section here. I still have to work through that and mow it down. My goal is to try and finish pulling these big sticks out and get through this section. But about a year and a half ago, Michael pulled, he did not realize what he was doing, but he pulled, this is called We Came from the City. He just pulled off some poison ivy or poison oak. He just thought, oh, I need to clean up these, I'll show you actually. If I walk over here, I can kind of give you an idea. So these trees, these big trees that we have on our property, and mind you, we've only been here for almost 4 years now, but if you look at the tree, it has this stuff growing on it, and it's a vine, and the vine grows up the side, and yeah, so pretty sure that's all poison ivy or poison oak. Probably, I don't know which is which, but I do know it's poison whatever. So he, being the person he is, decided, oh, these trees shouldn't have that on it, and he went to work trying to remedy the situation and got himself poison ivy. But that day, before he came inside and realized what he had done, he had dragged from way down there one of those trees, and he stopped here, and just there was a whole bunch sitting here, and he's deathly afraid to touch it, so that leaves me to deal with it. Well, it sat here for the last year and a half, and I just hadn't had the time or the will to come out and work on it. So I have bagged up and thrown away what was here, and then I got through this section with the mower, but there's a little bit I can show you left right here. So this pile here is all left over. Some of it's not, but this, like, you can see the hairy. So yeah, that's part of that stuff that he had pulled off. So there's still a little bit left in this section, but my goal is to go ahead and get this stuff pulled out. And then we have these, like, I don't know what kind of trees these are. They grow like weeds, but they keep growing and sprouting everywhere. I try to pull them off, but you can see it's growing leaves. They're pretty in the ground, pretty good. So I need to get those cut off and cut down, because I don't really want, I mean, maybe we'll leave that there. And then this one was a tree we had cut down that keeps growing back. So they do get pretty big really, really fast, actually, interestingly. And then this side of the house, I guess I'll give you guys a full yard tour. This side of the house is our septic. My daughter's sleeping, so I'm going to be quiet. But this tree has also been losing a lot of branches. So it makes it, I've already pulled a bunch of them, but I don't know if this tree is dying. I am thinking it is, because it looks a lot worse than it used to, and it's spring. I have a feeling that this tree's dying. So we're probably going to have to get that one removed. As you can see, the branches. I'm just going to walk you this way. And I'm watching where I'm walking, because you never know what's on the ground. Mostly I'm just worried about snakes, and since this grass is overgrown. So this area I actually got mowed through a little bit. There's a pile of something down there next to that, and then this whole section needs to get cleaned back up, but it just became a dumping ground for trash. So and Michael likes to keep random things, electronical stuff, and when they pulled out our old air conditioning unit, he decided he wanted to keep this. So Yeah, it's sitting there. So he can scrap what he can off of it, I guess. So I am going to work on getting this area cleaned back up, and my goal is to eventually get the funds to turn that into a chicken coop, since we're not going to be using it as the woodshed anymore. Michael's afraid to go in because he's worried about snakes and spiders. So, so I was like, well, why don't we turn it into a chicken coop, and then we can turn this whole section here into a chicken run. So that would be a good option to use it for that. So that's where I'm thinking we're going to go with this little section. And as I said, all the grapevines, this whole section here does produce grapes. So I do get this. Now these grapes are Mustang grapes, so they're not like, you can't just stick them in your mouth and eat them. I mean, you could try, but they are very tingly. They're not really meant for eating table grapes. They're meant for like cooking. Like, you could probably use them for wine, and maybe someday we'll do that too, if I ever have the motivation. I've thought about it. I've researched it a little bit. Sounds intriguing, but at the same time, I don't even drink wine and stuff. I just personally don't like it, but nothing wrong with that. I think there's a lot of people that would enjoy it, so I might, and my kids probably would as they get older. Trying to come around to the other side. Wow. These little yellow flowers are just everywhere over here. I hadn't mowed it down because the lawnmower, this is really pretty. Try to get a really pretty close up. Might turn that into a picture. Yeah, this whole section's got them. See that? This is our wood pile. So we did have a whole section I went through and mowed around. I need to mow around this section again. But see, like, we had put a pile up here, and we just thought we were going to do more trips to the dump, and it just didn't happen because the dump's really far away. And then this is the inside of this. So I'm thinking I'm just going to have it modified, and we can turn it into a little chicken coop. I'm debating, so I want rabbits too. So I'm not sure if I would do 2 chicken coops, one on each side, or what if I did a chicken coop on one side and did another little enclosed run over here for the rabbits, so that I can have rabbit poop for the garden. So that's what I thought. But when my little Cocoa Puffs died, I did plant her. I did bury her right here. And we also had a cat that had died that was kind of like somebody we really liked, one of the cats we really liked. So they're buried right here. So I'm just not sure. I thought, this is an out of the way place. Last year I put some ground cover over here and tried to plant in this corner. It didn't go so well. So now it's all overgrown. I'm going to pull that out. Also, we have a big pile. Michael actually dug this huge pit, and then we put a bunch of bush branches and stuff in it. He was just trying to bury a lot of branches because we had so much. Might at some point, if we get another big storm that's not too windy but just rainy, I might just try and light it on fire and let it burn down. And this is this is the other side of our house. The shop has rotted a lot because we cannot afford to maintain it. We did put in a new window and the air conditioner, but the siding, the roof is leaking, and it's probably got black mold in the top. There's no ventilation above the roof inside, so that whole peak area is just no ventilation. So in reality, we need to just tear it down to the sticks and rebuild it. But that's going to be hundreds and hundreds of dollars we don't have. We have some beautiful oak trees. I have started painting this side. As I told you, I want to get, this is where I want this gray. But we've kind of decided to redo the kitchen again in a few years when we have more money. So, but the goal is to whitewash the brick and have the rest be gray with white trim accent. So that's kind of where we're going with that. And then this is my neighbor's field again. So there's actually this first field, and that's the one that I'm hoping we get eventually, but he just uses it for hay. And I'm not sure, they might put cattle in it again. They had cattle there when we first moved here, but they took them the first year we lived here. And they haven't been back since. He just uses it for, and I know he's the guy that owns it is an older guy, but I think he does have a family with younger. Oh, look. So these vines on this fence, they produce, this is a wild blackberry. As you can see, I can't get a good picture of it. So it's all overgrown. It's mostly on the other side of the fence, but it does come through the fence. I don't remember what they're called, brambleberries. They're blackberries, but I have picked them. I got a little section of them last year. They are growing. So I'll have to come out and keep an eye on it so I can get as many as I can before they die out. They only last for a couple weeks and then they die. And I'm sure the birds love them too. So I think I've pretty much gone around. So Mike's been working on getting his car fixed. It was sitting here for almost 2 years. Not here in this specific spot, but up on the driveway. And he had to he basically had to modify a whole bunch of stuff in the engine, and it's just insane how much stuff he has to modify. So I'm gonna stop this and start. There's just so many sections of this video. It's gonna be a very, very long one. So if you made it this far, oh, there's Spooky. There's my Spooky. Hi. Hi, big boy. This is my favorite kitty. Hi, Spooky. Yeah. He's such a big boy. He's got beautiful blue eyes. Don't you have blue eyes, Spooky? Gonna show us your eyes? You gonna show me your eyes? Oh. So, this is our trailers that we have, that I take for the dump. At least the older trailer I used to use for the dump. We got the new trailer so I could do compost. But we got so much trash build up over the last year since the car can't really pull the trailer. I mean, it can, but it's going to be really bad on the car, that I finally broke down and got us a dumpster. So they come once a week, and I'm hoping that, we had to sign a year contract to have this, but at least I know that once a week they're going to come and we're going to get some of the trash gone. And so hopefully over the year, 1 year's time, we won't have any that much trash left. So we'll see how it's going in a year and reassess. And then our lawnmower needs a new battery, I think. Well, Michael fixed most of it. Spooky! Be nice to George. And then this area, Michael pulled out a bunch of stuff from the garage that we're gonna go through, and up front, I'm gonna show you that, and then I'll be done. So this is catnip, which I planted and it came back like crazy. And then I planted a bunch of tulips. This one just finished blooming, so it's dying, and that one did too. There's more growing. And this is going to be a tall lily, like an Easter lily. There's that one and that one. Oh, hi, Sabby. You want it in the video too? Are you wanting to say hi? So there's a bunch of tulips that'll be growing. Probably next year I'll get a bigger display because I did put them in about a month and a half ago maybe. And then I have a bunch of mint. And as everybody knows, mint takes over, which is why it's in this concrete planter. And I really like this concrete planter. I really want to do some concrete planters about this size out in my garden so that I can put tomatoes and still walk around them and get to them. And I'm not sure if we'll do concrete though. That's why I'm thinking it's going to end up being cinder blocks so that it can be moved. But I do actually like this concrete planter a lot, so it's kind of cool. Anyways, so I'm just going to sign off and say thank you so much, and I appreciate wandering around for the last probably hour video. I think I had well over 4 15-minute sections, so this is going to be a long video, but thank you if you made it this far. And again, just keeping, if you want to watch, I won't normally post long videos like this, but I hadn't done one in a year, so I like to keep updating what I'm doing, and that way I can personally also go back and look and see where we were in this year of 2023. And that way in 2 or 3 years or 5 years or 10 years, I can see, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Just also so family and friends, like I said before, can actually watch my videos and see if they want to. Anyways, they are very long, so I don't anticipate everybody's going to want to look at that. But thank you so much for coming along on this amazingly long tour. Hope you enjoyed the garden, and let me know if you have any questions. Awesome. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good day.